Hello and welcome back to Dwarf Fortress, where you will observe we are not currently inside Nosetools because... Actually, I do need to load it, don't I? Because I kind of feel like we've reached the limits of what I can usefully do there. I don't have any cunning ideas after Ian's give everyone a waterfall in their room, which we've succeeded in. So I think we should start a new fortress elsewhere, which will mean retiring this one. You will observe that this fortress does indeed have a waterfall in, well, at least some of the rooms. Here we have some mist as water is pouring down through this room. And similarly here, and I suspect this is a small child who is happy to have seen a waterfall, maybe? Yes. And so everyone is happy. Well, okay, not everyone is happy, but a reasonably large number of people are happy. Yes. We haven't invented digital watches yet. So I think that what we should do is to retire Nosetools, which will pack it up into a form where the game will keep it running as an abstracted entity, but in a form where, if necessary, we can come back and unpack it again and start playing again. But yeah, that will probably not happen. But the people from Nosetools will turn up elsewhere. So if we choose retire the fortress, then that will turn it into into merely another. The fortress will become part of the world. You may reassume control later, but circumstances will not necessarily be as you leave them now. There is apparently some tea for me out there, so while this is saving, let me go and get some tea. Right, how's that going? Your fortress has settled into the rhythm of day-to-day living beyond my meticulous concern. Yes, well, I think it does indeed not need any meticulous concern anymore. No, because I haven't found the right USB cable. Offload. So now all of the people and things in the fortress and under the fortress and by, with, or from the fortress are being carefully recorded for posterity. Which will take a short while. You don't have any coins! No coins at all. Why do you need to save coin information?
I don't know, I think sarcasm is wasted on these people.
Right, so let us return to Region 6, which is the world we've currently been in. We probably don't want to start up adventurer mode. Let us start Dwarf Fortress mode as usual and decide what to do next. I don't think anyone has told me what we should be doing next. So, as usual, the world runs for 14 days after loading. Which takes a bit of simulating. This is the kind of stuff that usually just happens in the background because, like, it doesn't take very much thinking to do each day. So, well, there are a variety of terrains which are as varied as the, as almost the real world. So, Dizziot is, we should not have any more zombies. So that suggests maybe not trying to reclaim Cobalt relics again just yet. So we could go for some kind of environmental challenge, like heading into the middle of a desert or to a glacier or something such. We could go for a pissing off all the locals situation where we dump ourselves in the middle of a vast quantity of goblin pits and blow raspberries at them until they turn up. Like
with a thing that's like a pea-shooter and slightly larger.
Yes, I mean we would have to make it a rather odd-shaped fortress, for instance, to fit in here because the two neighbouring settlements are so huge. There's only a 1 square gap between them. So, like, we have a huge area of flat, freezing tundra up here, which then descends into... yes, you aren't allowed to embark over an ocean, even if there is an ice cap over it. But we might be able to find an ice cap over...
Oh, you've got an actual North Pole in this locator.
Yes. I think it may just be a rectangular world, to be honest. But I think it looks like there's at least some... so, freezing desert. At least some... oh, gods, I've forgotten the word. Glaciers over... that might actually be over land. And there's a lot more... glaciers. The glaciers reach a lot further south here. But that's mostly ocean, isn't it? Yes. And we have mountains as well. So here's we've got some like reasonably pointy mountains here, I think. Where's our pointiness chart? So we can get up to like vicious mountainous cliffs if we feel like that sort of thing. Is it actually cylindrical? I think it's rectangular. I think you can't even run off one side. No, I think admittedly it's not entirely possible to prove it's not cylindrical, but it just goes up to ocean at that edge. So maybe it's like our world and it's basically a big ocean round the back. And like we could go for a sort of try to build something interesting in this place sort of approach. I mean, there are lakes as well. There's coasts and lakes and rivers as well, and probably the occasional volcano if we're careful. That doesn't look like volcanoes. Yes, I have built things in volcanoes. They're quite fun because it means you have magma immediately if you're very careful.
Well, you have death immediately.
So I think I set up a lighthouse full of magma there. That's curious. A joyous tropical inland ocean. God knows what you get in them. Right. Oh, well, so is that a volcano? Is that a tiny volcanic island there? Yes, I think it is. Not quite, just about tiny enough that we could get the volcano and the sea in at the same time. So that would be a scorchingly hot volcanic, mid-ocean volcanic island. Yes, you'll get no caravans, no visitors, possibly immigrants. I'm not sure. I think we would essentially be on our own. We've got it would have two kinds of metal, so it might be useful. Maybe you would find you could get things through the caverns with a bit of effort. I'm not sure. I don't know quite how it would work.
Shallow metal and deep metal refer to the subject matter of the songs.
No. What's that? That's a small lake, right. So yes, so you have like medium-sized islands in temperate latitudes, and a tiny little island up here. Not that tiny; it's much bigger than, say, my last fortress was. Just seeing if there are any more. Volcanoes are annoyingly rare. So Dizziot is saying goblins or glaciers seem more fun. So now I'm wondering if we can combine them, because I notice here we have a bunch of what look like goblin settlements on the edge of what looks like some fairly frigid wastes. I'm just going, what have we got that has nice metals around it? Is that does that represent a that pie? Is that a necromancer tower? I don't think it is. I think that might be actually. Ideally, so we've got two metals there. So let me see. Yeah, so that one then gets us a tundra that goes onto an ocean and is very close to some goblin settlements. What's going on up here? So we ever actually get told that we have glaciers. I don't think we do. I think we have to infer that from it's being bloody cold. I'll just check, but okay, now there should be a like glacier biomes. Let's see if I can I go find? Not really. No, that wasn't what I meant. That's unhelpful. Suppose if I then also go temperature low, that was if we ask for that. lots of metal available, but it suggests there's an awful lot of that option, but surely, or are you just searching for elevation first and then you're going to refine this by each other one? Because that's obviously a sensible way to organise this. Your query optimizer may need some work, sir.
Given the dwarves' own job scheduling system, I think it's more this query optimizer was written by them.
Okay, how do I escape to browse results? Then how do I go to the next or previous result? How does this work? We've got... It clearly still knows about the finding mechanism. I mean, so we have, yes. Are you going to highlight, how do I find the next result? There must be a way to find the next result, surely. That. None of those, is it? Pound the flashing X's. Okay, there aren't any other flashing X's other than that one as far as I can see. Yes, so but that's essentially one biome, I think. Possibly there isn't very much by way of that. So that's a long way from the goblin encampments if we were going to try to also taunt goblins. It's not quite. Even then, I'm curious as to why I can't find any glaciers. Oh, glacier! There's a tiny glacier there. The fabulous glacier. What's going on here? Is that some more? Ah, right. Yes, I found some now. The Écru Blizzard. Which we can have in stupidly pointy mode if we feel like it. Very few neighbours. I mean, just surviving here is going to be tricky. Got deep metals, so it's not completely useless, but like that might turn out to be lead, like it did in the last place.
Well, I mean, dwarves do seem to be immune to lead poisoning, so...
I mean, this one has a bit of ground that's, if we were to do it precisely here, then there'd be a bit of ground that isn't that is mountains but not glacier. If we were to go one to the east, we would actually get what I suspect is, yes, we would be on the edge of a deep valley, but I think that would then take us out of having any non-glacier mountains unless we change the shape of the embark area a bit. Oops. I kind of like this at the head of this valley. If we do something stupid like make our embark area non-square. I keep pressing the wrong buttons. Then we can, if we plant it there, then it has a tiny patch to the west that's outside of the glacier, but is almost all glacier, and is going to be very hilly, and who knows whether we'll ever get any visitors. I mean, this could be at least entertaining. I don't know what it'll turn out like, or whether it'll be immensely tedious. But, like, we haven't had any ice before. So, any objection to doing this? We are in the Écru Blizzard here.
What colour is it, crew, anyway?
I don't know. You look it up.
I'll look it up once I
Yes.
write in my blog state.
Okay, so we'll go to the Howling Wastes, and we'll see what it's like. wilderness is not very exciting. No vegetation because we're on a glacier. Not actually all on a glacier. There's a small hint of the Horn of Combining, which is a freezing mountain instead. Right. Embark then. Let's see what happens. Do we prepare carefully or do we just charge? I think we just charge. We don't really know what we're going to meet there anyway. Unlike the standard embark is not completely disastrous. We have arrived. I don't think we can't remember if... Oh, we can bring wood, yes. Well, too late. Our dwarves have been highly optimistic and have decided that obviously everything will be fine. We have arrived after a journey from the mountain homes into the forbidding wilderness. Your harsh trek has finally ended. Your party of 7 is to make an outpost for the glory of all Id Osram. We're of a different civilization. There are almost no supplies left, but with stout labour and quite a bit of digging comes sustenance, whether by bolt, plough or hook. Well, probably mostly by plough once we're underground. Provide for your dwarves. You're expecting a supply caravan just before winter entombs you, if there is indeed a time when winter doesn't entomb us. But it is spring now, probably, barely. I think. I can't remember. Enough time to delve secure lodgings ere the wolves get hungry. A new chapter of Dwarven history begins here at this place. Iridinod, Rhythm Gates. Strike the earth.
Is this all properly generated, implying there actually are wolves around here?
Yes, I believe that is chosen from the convenient large carnivores that the area has available to us.
Squawk. So ecru is a colour of unbleached linen, so it's kind of like beige, only a bit more greeny and kind of ill-looking.
Right.
There.
That's where we are.
Yes, I looked that up and I thought the colour of unbleached linen, and you can see why people immediately bleached it.
Yes.
Yes.
You could go around looking like some small child who's just, stick something up on you, or you could not.
So yes, there will be a short delay. Well, I've forgotten what happens at this point because we did so many embarks on cobalt relics and just gradually made the place worse and worse. Yes, we're pretty much guaranteed no zombies here.
Interrupted by zombie ice cube. In very cold regions, surely what you want is something like Yetis.
Yes, it's possible. Right, just confirming that Dwarf Fortress was indeed eating all my CPU. Right, let's have a look around.
Zombie wolverines.
So, right, let's get up a view of the entire embark area, which should be wider than it is tall. Which was meant to be wider than it was tall. Oh well. So, on this floor, well, we have solid rock, solid we don't know what because we haven't got through it yet. Ice wall, snow-covered ice, and then open space because we're we've stopped halfway up a cliff. If we go up a level, it gets cliffier. You can see some rock salt and some granite, and we are on the edge, meant to be on the edge of some more ice. So mostly, there is ice here, but there's also quite a bit of exposed rock because we're on the edge of a deep, deep valley. Okay. How many Z? So that the Z level nominal 0 is at the top of the cliffs. It looks like. where we have lots of snow-covered ice. And then there's a kind of plateau down below us there. And then this deep valley, which is, yes, it's a kind of U-shaped glacial valley, as you might expect, with then a layer of snow-covered ice at the bottom of it. So the glacier is kind of in the valley, and we're halfway up the side.
Mm-hmm. That sounds, geologically plausible, I think.
Dwarf Fortress's geology is not bad. Like, it does actually do a lot of simulating of rivers carving things into the landscape, and probably thus I don't know if glacial stuff is fully simulated, but yes. So yes, the views from here will be glorious across this icy wasteland. Do we actually see the other side of the valley? Not quite, no. No, and what's to the, there is not much space to the left, and what there is to the left is all rather cliffy. So yes, we can totally go into the mountain sideways. There's plenty of up.
I think this area is not short of up.
So yes, we have the usual collection, miner, woodworker, woodcutter. Yeah, there is an argument I should have prepared carefully. They're not going to be very helpful. We probably have a very small amount of wood. I'm going to have to assume that no one actually told my dwarven fortress that they were coming to a frozen wasteland.
Well, your woodworkers can retrain as something else.
Yes.
Oh, it's necessary.
And the usual assortment of animals. Oh right, yes, you can tell we're not. I think if you start the game at the traditional time, at the beginning of the year, it says no one has gone missing or died. The year is yet young. But it is currently actually early autumn, despite the startup message. So we are probably going to have to settle in for winter immediately, and we need to get everything in from outside pretty quickly. It's kind of tempting to give ourselves a bit of, well, I suppose we can go into and we don't really need to allow for the possibility that we might get stomped on by zombies. So let's just try making a hole in the wall and seeing if that makes our lives any better. Right, so the ice is not very thick at the out here. Well, maybe not. So we get granite just through the wall. But we also find quite a bit of ice, which may be entertaining. I think it's the ice, as long as it stays as a wall, will be reasonably safe and not frozen and not, like, surprisingly melt. It's just confusing because the floor is thus... so there's a danger that will melt, on the other hand. How do we... There is a way to convert ice into usable water. That... I'm not sure if that actually works.
signal.
Hmm?
Check on the signal.
Oh,
A snowstorm has come. Right, yes, what I should do quickly is to say... Here, we'll just have a small meeting area here to encourage everyone to come inside, where they won't, like, freeze to death. We did eventually reach the point where no one was coming to say hello to us, except for visiting scholars and poets and bards and so forth. Right, so our miner is carving us some space. What's going on there? Oh, is that just... Oh, right, that square has a dog and a cat on it, one of whom is obviously having to lie down to make space. Okay, converting useful ice into water is apparently quite tricksy.
without also causing less useful flooding?
Well, it's more that it doesn't really... You can't melt it very easily. So you're in a kind of... You can cause cave-ins, which apparently cause ice to melt spontaneously. So yes, aquifers are sometimes present on glaciers. Magma can be used to melt ice. Two ways to get water on a glacier. Underground pools is the other major one. So we might be able to find something in the caverns with a bit of care. Just looking at the diagram in the wiki. Right, well, for now, let us make a stockpile here, and not an animal stockpile, a custom stockpile containing, well, frankly, everything for now. Just get all of our stuff inside the fortress. Oops, I just accidentally made that. Oh, this will probably be good enough for now.
Oh yeah, good to know. A couple of squares on the right with red backgrounds.
Yes, let's have a look at those. I think that might indicate a creature. Or does it? There is something that means. well, let's have a look at the list, at the units list. We have a coyote there. And a coyote there, which is certainly close to where that red mark is. Yes, I think that indicates 2 potential enemies in the form of 2 coyotes. Yes, it's probably reasonable to make this not a refuse stockpile. Jacob is right. Let's remove refuse from there. So do we have a hunter type? Maybe, we'll see. Possible someone will go out hunting in a bit. Right, they are at least setting to work on storing items in that stockpile. Dig out a bit more because we might want to be able to start making new things. So you might want to build a mason's workshop in particular, since we have stone. So yes, we may have to learn how ice works a bit. Or, yes, you can use ice boulders for making things out of, like these ones. But apparently they do have a habit of, things you make out of them do have a bit of a habit of melting. Constructions don't, so walls are fine. But if, for instance, you make a butcher shop out of ice, then the problem of having all these nice warm corpses in it will tend to cause it to melt.
Seems like it works the wrong way round to have this actually work in reality.
There's a relative volume of corpses in ice and paper.
Right, so looks like we've brought in all of the stuff that we can because we've run out of space in our fort. So there is still some stuff to bring in. We should also demolish the wagon because that will get us 3 units of wood, which might be useful. Since, yes. Well, I think we're going to be heading for the caverns relatively quickly. Yes. In the form of giant underground fungi, for the most part. So, yes, there will initially only be 3 beds. Right, we've now demolished the wagon. So let us build a mason's workshop here.
I just looked at one of David Gerard's tweets and he's completely correct, but it's also very depressing.
So if we make it, well, we've got granite. We don't actually need to make everything out of ice. These squares are presumably officially inside, yes. Let's dig out a little bit more because then we can build another workshop next door to the mason's workshop. So the ice boulders we've carved out will probably melt, But unfortunately they don't melt into useful water without some care. I mean, I think we might. I think once we've dug it out, I think it melts into annoyingly useless water. When an ice boulder melts underground, it becomes an item named water, but it differs from regular water and doesn't actually work. Melted boulders cannot be used as a water source. So the melted ice boulders will not be the most useful thing ever. Let's make ourselves some blocks. Oops. Well, let's see if we end up accidentally making them out of ice. Oops, I've dug one square extra into that corner. And let's construct a Carpenters Workshop so that we can at least turn what little wood we have got into beds. No, that's not. I was wondering if I should wait for the granite to be converted into blocks, but it really doesn't matter.
Not granite also valued?
So yes, I apparently do need more space for storage. So let's just go for making things a bit bigger while we wait. And then we can, right, so let's make 3 beds since we can. And that will then give the dwarves somewhere to sleep. So we found some rock salt out here. So how many Z levels down is the bottom of the valley? So like if we're willing to go outside, we can get 14 Z levels just by going down there. So I suspect it's probably better to keep going, to dig around inside the mountain. Excuse me, F1 should take me back to my starting place, yes. So then we can hope to find something useful down there. So do I have... So we have someone who's basically just a miner. This is the standard build, but I can't remember what it is. Someone who is a carpenter and a bowyer. Is that of any use at all? Someone who is every possible kind of farmer very slightly. An engraver, mason, mechanic and building designer. A gem cutter, gem set, a crafts dwarf in pretty much all respects. A fish cleaner, butcher, tanner, weaver. And a fisher dwarf. So we don't actually have a hunter, which would have been helpful, or thus I suspect a crossbow. Our weapons are 2 copper battle axes and 2 copper picks. Yes.
Rustling noises.
So yes, I suspect we're like going to make a rush for the caverns fairly quickly. Well, if we can get magma, then I think we can melt all this ice.
Well, of course, once you get magma, you can do anything, including have magma access.
So that's all the beds installed. Let's make some doors as well.
Build the gate of living gates before wolves get hungry.
Yes, it appears to be coyotes. Actually, we've actually got here, but still.
You don't seriously mean to tell me that Dwarf Fortress's advertising copy was not adequately researched?
I think it was adequately researched, but they didn't look at precisely what was here today. Just there are wolves in the area, and wolves are scarier than coyotes. Right, let's just do another.
I'm not sure that coyotes ought to be living in a region with so many sheer drops. I mean, surely they're constantly going to be running off sideways and having their legs windmill under them while they look down in horror all the time.
Let's just set up another stockpile there for the rest of the cruft from the. Wagon. Oh God, no, I didn't mean for you to put all of the stone in that stockpile. And yes, I admit I made some rock blocks, and now you're going to fill the thing with rock blocks as well. And now I'm going to have the embarrassment of needing to make another stockpile because I didn't actually make enough space in this one. Grumble. Hooray, gems! Right, let's have a front door.
Cool, so instead of reading Critter and other things that today depression really do, read AO3. Which conveys many things, but not so much you can do unless you pick the story like that.
Right, good. The objects out there are mostly not yet disappearing into turning into not succumbing to frost damage just yet. So if we can get that lot in, then we need to decide what to do next and whether we just go straight down. We don't really have anything we can make. Yeah, I think we need the caverns really.
And your dwarves.
I mean, in the last game I was quite cautious about caverns, but so do we go down? We've got a pretty decent miner. We can probably safely go down inside this hill rather than going outside lots because outside is cold. So if we go for... Oh, looks like there are more creatures out there. 4 coyotes. If only we had a crossbow. So So we could just make a hole in the floor here, or we could like deliberately make it a little way back from the entrance in a separate room that we can then wall off. We can then put a door in front of to avoid embarrassment. Let's meanwhile kind of going. Let's remove the entire existing stockpile and then mark a new stockpile covering the same area that is slightly sane and has refuse turned off and stone turned off, but contains everything else. Right, that should get everything brought inside finally. They apparently decided to reorganise all the things. Obviously everything has to be placed in the correct place in this new stockpile. So meanwhile, let us dig a little further back into the mountain. And dig a downstair here. And yes, up downstairs, like at least down to the down to below the level of the glacier. Jacob asked, do you use the one-tiled garbage dumps for dealing with excess stone, etc., or do you consider that cheating? I don't think it's cheating, either, though I wouldn't generally bother doing it. I don't generally use garbage dump zones like that, largely because then you can't so easily use them for, well, dumping your garbage. And as we saw in the last game, rubbish disposal was a critical part of running the fortress. Shouldn't be quite so bad for this one, but still. Yes, I could indeed set up a garbage dump zone on the edge of the cliff.
You could set up a garbage catapult.
Only for stone, but yes. Oh, is there more tea? So there is. Hang on. And then we can watch him heading downwards. It's a good source of gems, this mountain. But I certainly don't consider the fact that you can pile up lots of objects on the same square to be an exploit, because the standard way that minecarts work does that. So, like, obviously it's an intended feature. It's not just a weird consequence of how the game works. Yes. So we're down below the level of the thing, but we haven't actually found any exciting caverns yet. We are, of course, not guaranteed to hit the caverns just by going straight down. So that should be deep enough to find the upper caverns, surely. So let's see. Yes, there's now nothing outside. No objects out here where our wagon arrived. Just slightly less snow than elsewhere. Merely a dusting of snow where the wagon was, as opposed to piles of snow nearby, presumably because the wagon displaced some of the snow. Those horses are not going to last very long, are they? It now occurs to me, because we have no pasture to feed them on. Out here, at least. We do have one male and one female horse, though, so maybe it's worth keeping them for a little bit.
Not entirely clear how
Well, they towed the wagon.
Yes, but I mean, how do you get a horse halfway up a mountain like this without it going, oh?
Starting at the top of the mountain, obviously.
A horse that slid down the mountain and went, splash.
So what's the rock we've got here? So we're now into phyllite, yes. Oh, a new layer stone. Nice. That's nice. Or rather, yes, whatever. Oh, right, okay. Oh, that's not bad, actually. So our metal that we were told about in the embark screen turns out to be tetrahedrite, which is a copper and silver ore. So, like, it's not the best ore to turn up, but on the other hand, especially given we seem to have a bit of a shortage of... we don't seem to have any flux stone, it's probably better that we don't have an iron ore, but we can make decent weapons out of silver and copper. Once, of course, we have anything we can use to fuel smelters. And we have olivine, so we can make everything green. May contain veins of native platinum, apparently.
Also magma safe, which I'm sure you're going to find uses for sooner or later.
Oh, and galena. So yes, my suspicion we might turn out to have lead was totally true. And we have discovered an expansive cavern. Excellent, or possibly excellent, depending on what turns out to be down here. Because, after all, it may be full of horrors. Well, monsters anyway.
The forgotten beast Brr has come. An enormous brass monkey.
Well, it appears to contain a cave swallow, at least. Allegedly, though the cave swallow doesn't, on the other hand, appear on the creatures list. What? Oh no, cave swallows are vermin, I think. Giant cave swallows aren't vermin. But that means we don't yet know of any creatures down here, which is nice. On the other hand, that may be a sign of some creatures. Actually, no, let's leave them wider map up for now. And yes, some bat and cave swallow remains in among the webs. Question is there any water? Not that we can see yet, though we haven't explored the whole of the caverns. Neither, indeed, does there appear to be any wood, which may be a problem. So we should probably try to arrange a slightly more sensible access route into the caverns than dropping into them from above. Just cancel the designation of this staircase for now. We don't want someone to suddenly start digging more of the staircase below the section we've currently reached. So yes, there we did essentially penetrate the highest levels of the what? Oh right, we've the coyotes have found us. Right. I suppose I didn't actually lock the front door, did I? Well, all the coyotes are currently in the middle of that field of ice out there, so I think if anyone has met a coyote recently, in the middle of, right in the top right corner of, then it wasn't very recently.
I should turn something snooze yesterday. First, I should check whether tomorrow's. Yeah, that's definitely weather.
So yes, so far what we have found in the caverns is we haven't reached the bottom of the upper caverns because there's more. Oh no, that's an up arrow. I don't know if we've reached the bottom of the caverns. And we haven't yet found, and we found potential wildlife in the caverns, by which I mean a giant cave spider. Though we haven't actually seen it yet, and we haven't found any trees down there. It's a bit of a problem. But, well, in that case maybe we have to go deeper. I suppose what we could do actually, and this would not be completely stupid because it would make it easier to seal things off, is just build a staircase downwards from here. So to go build construction up down stair there out of granite blocks. I mean, strictly we could build it out of ice, which would be kind of amusing, but not very. Well, I mean, ice, I suppose, is of no use for anything else. Ice constructions work as long as they don't melt before you get to them, and before you build them. I can't try to build the next one down until that one's been put in.
Well, most of the greenhouse. The final one got stuck on the inside of the washing machine, so it went into the next load again, and is now drying.
Spook!
There we are. Rough ice block up down staircase. And we can build one there.
It's complaining about a very loud squawk. I'm not the master of squawking. This is the master of squawking.
So then we can send someone down there to have a look around. really don't want to run into that giant cave hippo if I can avoid it. Wonder if this works. Yes. We are a building destroyer, right? So possibly we send. I think what I should do. Well, I mean, we don't have any. The gloved tundras, is that a good name, do you think?
The gloved tundras.
Yeah. Let's take one of our less useful dwarves, like a fisher dwarf, and give them, and then see. Actually, our woodworker as well, and we'll take them. We can always have them not be a. So the thing is, we have 2 axes because. Sorry, I meant our woodcutter. Well, that'll do. And 2 picks, so we might just about be able to organise a tiny military. And this has the advantage that we can tell them where to go, and they'll just go there without having to work out some excuse for them to go there, and thus they can be used for exploration. The horses are already getting hungry, but we haven't found anything they can eat yet. So if we look at what these guys have equipped, what's the thing for it's there? Right, well, one of them's managed to find a copper battle axe. Maybe if we tell our woodcutter rather perversely, don't cut wood, then they'll drop their battle axe as a woodcutter and pick it up as a yeah, I think Pink Beast is correct, and we should eat the horses, or rather we should convert the horses into food before they die, because I don't think we're going to get anywhere we can usefully graze them, since the first cavern levels appear to have no plants in. I suppose it's possible that this is because we have no soil, because this is all we're in. But there's plenty of mud down here. We can totally grow. Actually, yes, that's something we should do. We should start growing plump helmets down here, even if we do nothing else. I mean, it may be a bit dangerous, but since there's some mud down here, I don't think we can turn the mud into pasture for horses unless we penetrate a cavern level that actually has plants in, so that we get plants growing everywhere. Because we essentially don't currently have any way of growing anything yet. But a farm plot we can at least plant things on, but the horses can't live off them. You can't graze on a farm plot. So let us build a butcher's shop so that we can dispose of the horses. Because I think the horses are not going to last. And then they should be able to be stored in the stockpile indefinitely. I should make a hotkey for get us to the top of the caverns, shouldn't I? No, what is it? What's the key for that? H. Yeah, we'll see whether the food actually rots here. I don't know whether it will or not. Right, so plump helmets all year round. So I think that's all we've got seeds for. We can't even tell what we've got seeds for because we don't yet have a bookkeeper. What I will do then is
send you with a written cargo manifest.
not an accurate one, no. Is make a small stockpile here. Seeds, yes, that just contains seeds, and then take seeds out of the upper stockpile so that we keep the F1, so that we keep the seeds next to the farm. I mean, yes, most of those kinds of seeds we can't grow anywhere anyway, but right, you can see the meat there being stored in barrels, I think. And now we also conveniently have a bunch of... Oh, actually, no, we do have a reasonable quantity of different seeds here. We have some plump helmet spawns, some dimple cups, some rock nuts. So I can arrange... So what do we have? Actually, I think if I... well, let's just check. I think we may actually have every kind of plant, every kind of underground plant. But the thing is that for most purposes you want plump helmets. So for now let's just grow plump helmets and see how it goes. Right. So still the only things we know of are coyotes. Yes, the 2 stray horses are no longer with us. Let's wait for the store item in stockpile jobs to sort themselves out. Right, and there's a lot of planting to do, but I suppose we may as well grow everything we've got, mayn't we? We've got plenty of space. I mean, that farm plot is excessively big, but like we can make a load more farm plots on the next level. I'm just trying to work out how these levels fit together. Right, yes.
Oh, well, that farm plot is too big, so we can make more.
No, not really. I mean, that farm plot is big, and we can, but we can make more. So it's big, and maybe I could have made it smaller, but it's not a problem that it's big because I've got plenty of other places where we can make more farm plots. Whereas if I had, for instance, carefully carved out a room upstairs and flooded it in order to make it muddy and so forth, then it would be kind of embarrassing if I had a farm plot that was far bigger than necessary and was only going to have 3 tiles used to grow plump helmets or whatever.
Right. I think what I missed was that the farm plots are atomic enough that you can't use them for having made a big one deprives you of an opportunity to maybe make the space into several smaller ones.
Yes, indeed. But that's okay. I've got plenty of space up here, down here. So let's make some more farm plots. I've lost the number again. P. That should be enough. Right. So then, if we say, so how have they managed to find themselves weapons yet? Well, 2 of them have. The woodcutter hasn't, and obviously they're very short of things like armour. But now we could say gloved tundras. Move to here. Let's see if they'll do so. Right, here they are. I think that's accidentally taken away the person who was also sorting out the farming, but that's fine for now. We're going on a quick explore. Our aim here is not... Let's avoid anywhere that appears to have webs. Okay, maybe we can't avoid anywhere that appears to have webs. Because everywhere has webs. Don't run into the webs, you fools. Actually, this even this direction is a bit dangerous. Let's head over here for now and see what happens. Well, we've exposed some more. So there's nothing very interesting in that direction. There's a kind of warren of little passages over here. Send them somewhere that we can see. Okay, are you moving? Don't seem to be moving. Alright, because you didn't know how to get there. We've found some drownthers. Drownthers are generally safe if you don't get, like, go and attack them or anything. Oh.
As long as none of your dwarfs is Eurus McSteve. That's going to poke us throughout with a stick.
Yes, that's generally bad. So, yes, we found a bunch of minerals and a downward passage, which suggests that this, yes, that connects up to some lower caverns. Well, let's explore this level of caverns first. Just look around. Aha! Ha 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 ha! Water. Right. So we don't have any idea how that. Oh no, we do have an idea how that connects up. Right. Okay. And there are the drownthers. Don't poke the drownthers with sticks, and we'll all be fine. Drownthers are peaceful herbivores. What they're herbivoring off, I have no idea. Yes, I'll look that up in the wiki. Opals tend to be quite pretty. Okay, maybe not. That's just weird. There we go. That's pineapple opal. So yes, we have found. Okay, that's how you get there, is it? Kind of want to make sure we have a rough idea of what the boundaries of the caverns are down here. That appears to be a limit. That joins up with that. And there is a wet bit. And there's the downward passage, which I don't think I want to explore immediately. Indeed, it's kind of tempting to try to wall it off. That's a bit tricksy. I suppose we could just put a hatch cover over it. Yeah, let's do that. So we found some water, but it is rather a long way away. It is connected to the edge of the map, though, which has the nice advantage that it will that it is probably an indefinite quantity of water. It's just it's 41Z levels down. Hang on, I should pause while we discuss this. While I discuss this. So yes, they're all rather thirsty now. That's fine. We can let them back out, I think. I think now we've basically traced all of the caverns on this layer of caverns. We haven't found anything truly scary. So, as usual, the caverns are connected off the map, so scary things can totally come in. Or maybe we send them down another level and see what they can find down there.
You've still only got 7 dwarfs, is that right?
Yes.
It seems like quite a lot of space for them to explore.
Well, yes, we want to know what's going on. And I suppose I can stop now that I've found water, which is... we still don't have wood. So it may be worth going down a bit further just to see what there is there. Go on, head further down. Let's see what we can find. Right, now we've discovered the second cavern layer. Also, oh yes, wood. Very deep in that cavern layer we have some spore trees and some tower caps and some black caps and even somewhere where we could pasture animals if we hadn't like just killed them all. And some more water. Right, okay. Still haven't found any animals, so let's be brave and get briefly say head down onto the floor of that level of caverns and just see what you can see. Still not found anything terrifying. Good. Right. So, we have access to water and wood and copper ore and silver ore and a few other ores, and soil and indeed potential pasture were it not for the fact that we killed the horses. Looks like this cavern may actually be quite small. I think we may just have explored all of this one. And I can't see any connections, whether open connections to the rest of the world that we haven't passed through. So that's nice. And it doesn't appear to have any animals in at the moment. Obviously they will turn up. Right. Okay, well I think now I will release... I will... cancel that order and allow that lot to go back upstairs. Let's follow someone doing so. Because now they're thirsty. So we have lots... We have actually a fair amount of tetrahedrite as well. And it's quite a long walk to get to the lower caverns. Hello, cats. To put it mildly. Though I suspect the answer to this is it's not like there's anything we want on the surface anymore. Like, apart from potential trade caravans... we may as well be all the way down there as up here. Like, all the resources are down in the caverns. So, we probably want to plant a trade post, a trade depot up here. But that's about it. So, oh yes, I was going to install a hatch cover over the connecting passage between the two caverns. I should also make a hotkey for the lower caverns.
Cold key for the surface.
So we can build a hatch cover, build a floor hatch here, and that way we can seal off those lower caverns if we want to. And let's work out where the proper entrance to the lower... Well, actually, the floor of the lower caverns have a fairly well-defined floor, don't they? It's here. So let's make that. Make a hot... No, not a floor hatch. Make a hotkey. F3 cavern 2. Zoom here. So we don't know that we have very much wood, to be fair. We're going to have to be a little bit careful. Because at least some of the underground trees, yes, the mushroom-shaped trees have the entertaining feature or that that they only drop one log each. So the spore trees should be useful because they will drop quite a lot of logs, but the tower caps and the black caps, which have caps rather than branches, may be more of a problem. The tunnel tubes should be alright. And of course more trees will grow down here eventually. So yes, I think, and I'm not sure I really want to start this, maybe I do want to start this, I think we want to relocate our main fortress so that obviously it shouldn't be actually in the caverns themselves, because that's surely an excellent way to have really exciting encounters with forgotten beasts. But we should perhaps dig like a new fortress all the way down here. 85 Z levels below the top of the mountain. This will make transporting stuff in and out a bit tedious. But on the other hand, it's where the resources are and where the water is.
Yeah, the question is, do you want to transport things tediously from the surface to a fortress or from the caverns to a fortress more often?
And like this is obviously an excuse for a ludicrous railway network. If we have our fortress split into two parts on opposite sides of the map at wildly differing heights, then obviously we just have an enormous roller coaster network connecting them. And yes, we, as Jacob suggests, we can at least put the trade depot at the level of the valley floor rather than at the level of the top of the mountain, which will slightly reduce the distance we have to go. Right, okay, so that's a plan.
Good night, people.
And I think we do want to go for the second Z level because that's got trees.
What is this new place called?
It is called Rhythm Gates.
Rhythm Gates?
Rhythm Gates.
Oh, Rhythm Gates. Okay.
Or possibly Iridinod.
Iridinod. Okay.
It's true. Good night.
Farewell. I think mostly full of water rather than magma.
Well, it's mostly full of snow.
Okay. You can import the magma. Not so.
Yeah, you can't really ask people to bring you magma. So, yes, we could dig a deep cut tunnel to get the trade caravan all the way in from the surface. But trade caravans are 3 squares wide and can't do stairs. So I kind of feel that may be a bit of a hassle. Like, I think it might actually be easier to build a railway network. So I think Jacob's suggestion of putting which essentially boils down to we abandon the current fortress in due course once we've shifted all the stuff out of it, build the main part of our fortress down here, 85 levels below the surface, and build a trade depot on the surface, but actually on the same side of the map. So it's at least at the level of the plains of the valley floor rather than at the level of the top of the mountain, partly because that would look nicer. And then have some means of transporting stuff between them, assuming we ever get any trade caravans. But like, let's set up a trade depot in the hope that they will arrive. And then, yes, so we should have a trade depot fairly early, simply because that lets us, because, well, I mean, it'll be a while. We're not going to get a trade caravan actually for another year, so that's not terribly urgent. And we should build the actual fortress way down here, which will take a little bit of setting up, and it should be off to one side of this section of the caverns, which is, and then we need to be reasonably secure against whatever the hell turns up in the caverns. So actually, when I say off to the side, I mean above, so that we can have floor hatches as our access into the caverns. Right. That's the plan. So let us start building the second generation of... I think it's a good idea to have the main entrance in among these narrow bits where it's harder for people to get sight lines on our fort and on people coming and going. So if we dig a couple of squares into the mountain, into the cavern wall, and then put in some upstairs, and then above them put in some downstairs, and we'll dig a small room around those downstairs for now. And then, well, actually we can now expand in multiple directions from here, can't we? So then let's have a kind of... Having the dining room near the entrance is quite nice. So let's set up an area that's going to be our main meeting area and dining room. And an area on this side which will be the kind of primary industries, things that work based on actually stuff that we have extracted from outside, like smelters and things for processing wood and such like, and then we'll see what happens. So our farm plots are in completely the wrong place, but we'll see. And we have to worry a bit about what we turn up in the caverns. But no one is a hunter. No one is going to go out there and start antagonising the Draltha. I think I should also... no. Yes, we're going to need some weapons so that we can, and some armour so we can get half decent military fairly early, which means we're going to be wanting to smelt some of that copper. Keeping quite a close eye on the animal situation. How many trees have we actually got down here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 if you count that tunnel tube, which we might be able to fell from above, but it is in the water. 8. Yeah, we've not got many trees even out here. Let's make more floor hatches because I need at least one more if I'm going to seal that off. Oh, and we probably, well, actually, yes, let's enlarge the future dining room quite a bit because we're going to want to make that, we're going to need to actually designate a stockpile big enough to take all of our stuff. And I suppose we can find out whether a tunnel tube yields a useful number of logs by cutting down a tunnel tube. We need to decide what to do about residential areas. I suppose... Actually, let's change that designation. No. Oh yes, we're going to use hatch covers to keep everything out. I'm going, do I make this the main staircase through the fortress, or do I have a separate main staircase that that we can isolate from the staircase that accesses the caverns? And like, we can isolate this one because we can stick hatch covers on it, but then yeah, I don't know quite why, but I think I want not to have that be the actual main staircase. So what I think I should do, I'm kind of tempted to have 2 staircases, one on each side actually, is to do something like this. And then these will be the main stairs up into the residential areas. And while last fortress was made out of a huge amount of precisely the same size of rooms, I think this one we don't have quite so much requirement to be able to isolate any given part of the fortress at a moment's notice, because we're not going to have zombies kicking around. So we can be a bit more relaxed about how things are laid out. So let's work on the assumption that this is our kind of main residential corridor. And we'll do like, so we want probably a gap around the stairs so that we can put doors on either side of the stairs. And like, I have a long tradition of, there isn't room for another room in there, is there? Not really. Maybe I should make my rooms a different shape then. So no, you're not going to get your nice rooms with mountain views, because everyone is actually coming down here. Hang on, if I'm only having one corridor... No, I can't have... This is not going to work then. You're going to... Well, I say that. I should probably make my residential things more vertical than I historically have. Also, that spacing is just stupid. What am I doing? I'm getting confused by digging 4 bedrooms. Well, let's build an initial, 8 bedrooms over 2 levels. And even though their design will be mildly stupid, it doesn't really matter. And that will give us enough space for everyone to live in, and if we cut down a tree or 2 we can get enough beds. And we'll be building most of our stuff out of stone because we have stone by the ton and wood in very small... Hello! Who are you and what are you doing here? We've got a guest! I hadn't expected that. Well, welcome to not even a bard, human bowman. Because we've accessed the caverns. Oh, I'm not sure I do want you eradicating monsters. I don't want you antagonising the monsters. I mean, this may actually be dangerous. No, you may not come here and antagonise our monsters. Piss off. Yeah, the problem is I don't want the monsters getting annoyed with people in general. I think kind of riling the Dralthers may be a dangerous activity. Happily, our bowman doesn't seem to have found the Dralthers yet. And they've left. Right. Yes, it's lovely to have visitors, but not ones who might antagonise the wildlife. Are you getting really good at digging, by any chance? Oh, I've turned off labour. Right, proficient miner, yes. So 4 dwarves are on their way down here with some means of some floor hatches so that we can seal off, or some hatch covers rather, so that we can seal off this area from the caverns below is as necessary. Then we will build in this room on the left a mason's workshop, a carpenter's workshop, and probably some other things I've temporarily forgotten. Presumably eventually a smelter, though that might end up somewhere else, because it's usually good to put the smelters near where you're actually mining the ore. So depending where we've got tetrahedrite, we'll want to do that in different places. Winter is upon you. And then, yes, but we want to have the wood furnace here, as we will turn some of our precious wood into charcoal so that we can smelt things, I think. I don't think I want to try going even deeper and trying to find magma just yet, though that will of course make the smelting easier. But like, if we get trade caravans, we can get trade caravans to bring us wood. And they will bring us lots of wood. I know this from experience. Once we start getting trade caravans. So when summer comes, we need to start building our trade depot outside. Look up giant cave swallows on the wiki. Right, giant cave swallows are not dangerous. So that's fine. And then in the right hand room here we'll set up a stockpile of all the things. Well, except for rock, because we have enough rock. So we also want to set up, let's build the obvious workshops. Is it Carpenters Workshop? Yes. And any others we need right now? Probably not. Well, we're going to need a still soonish, aren't we? That's going to need a barrel. Let's save that. Yes, I'm slightly wondering where we do our farming. Maybe we actually start setting up farm plots out here. There isn't very much space. Oh, we need to reassign someone to wood cutting, don't we? Well, when I say outside, I mean in the cavern. Just outside the fortress in the cavern. Obviously not like on the surface. That would be silly. Alright, they've decided to go straight up to the top of the future residential levels. Unfortunately, our tired miner is now going to have to go... Oh no, our hungry miner is now going to have to go all the way up to the top fortress in order to actually get some food. Because they haven't finished digging out the room that's going to be the stockpile yet. And dining room. Right, so we've now got a carpenter's workshop down here. So let's demolish the upstairs carpenter's workshop. I'm still not interested in letting people in to eradicate monsters yet. Bye. I don't know. Actually, we could do cave wheat, couldn't we? Whatever. Grow some things. Got a few spare doors already, so let's... build them. Perhaps more importantly, let's start making doors down here. Did I actually get around to... Yes, enabling wood working on them. Wood cutting on them. Let's see if that works correctly. Well, it might one day. The miner is just on the long trek back down to the lower fortress. It really is quite a long trek. So we should also think about what to do about the water supply. So we could just build a well directly over that lake, but I think we probably want to arrange to get the water out of the lake into a rather deeper reservoir somewhere. So the water is at that level, yes, and we can access it here, which we can get water by just going up to the edge of the water for now. There isn't actually an immediate need to do better, so I'll put that off for a moment. Getting our living arrangements sorted is, I think, a higher priority. So we've got the first bedroom more or less carved out, and the rest will be done fairly soon. So let's start demolishing the beds up here. And shifting them down. And yes, building little 1x3 bedrooms is very familiar because that was always my standard size of bedroom. Lots of doors needed. Dwarves like their bedrooms to have doors. You can also smooth the stone because granite isn't very valuable. But smoothed granite will be better than unsmoothed granite. So I get scared when it says webbed. No, someone has managed to walk straight into the giant cave spider web, even though there is no actual giant cave spider anywhere nearby. You've just been a stoat. Like, can't you see the webs? Oh no, it's not granite, it's diorite down here. Oh well, that'll make the dwarf whose room that is reasonably happy. Your taste in what order to dig things out in is weird. And now you've decided that it's time to harvest things because everyone is going harvesting. Actually, no, you're not. If I can find the... Okay, is it actually the case that you can't prevent someone from harvesting? Looking this up. Sorry, this is taking me longer than I was expecting. Oh, because I'm doing it in the wrong way. I should type it in there, shouldn't I? It would probably work. Yes. Okay, I can't work it out. I'm not going to worry. Oops, wrong window. Hope I didn't do anything exciting. No. Right, anyway. Where are we? Yes. So my miner has buggered off to go and harvest plants for reasons I don't understand. Presumably our first crop of... there goes the giant cave swallow. Our first crop of plump helmets has come up, and the miner has decided that it's their job to go and harvest some. And has run straight into one of the giant cave spider webs. Still no actual giant cave spiders, we just keep finding their webs around. And they've fallen asleep. I don't know if that's actually ordinary sleep or something weirdly giant cave spidery. Maybe we should set up a loom and get someone collecting the webs simply so that they don't... we should make some more rock blocks first so that we don't have to make them out of rough things. We should perhaps harvest the webs simply so that they people don't keep walking into them. Ah, that's the one, thank you, Jacob. Yes, it's a standing order who can harvest from farm plots. If we set it to only farmers harvest, then that might solve our problem a bit. Except for the being trapped in a web bit. Yes! Well... No, dwarves gathering webs are generally quite good at not getting webbed themselves, happily. Magma is, as any fool know, at a constant temperature. Okay, do I actually need to designate a water source? Right. If you need water, my dear dwarves, get it from here. Because that seems a sensible place. Let's remove the remaining bed from upstairs. Actually, let's also now undesignate this entire area. Oh no, don't undesignate it as a stockpile because it's undesignated as everything other than a food stockpile. Because being a food stockpile will help things not to rot there. But we don't actually want, for instance, anything we get from finally cutting down some trees to to simply cause things to get hauled all the way up to the surface. Oh, we might have our dining room available soon. Nope, going up to dig out a bedroom first. Okay, how scary is a helmet snake? There's one way to find out, is just to say. So far, our planter is terrified, but doing all right. I'm just going to quickly look up helmet snakes, just in case. Right. They're quite dangerous. Hmm. I mean, I kind of feel that our only hope, given a fairly dangerous monster, well, we have two approaches to a fairly dangerous monster. One is we kind of run away a bit and hope to avoid trouble, and the other is we go, well, it's only one snake, can we kill it? But it's venomous, so there is some danger here. Our planter is unarmed, if fairly well clothed. See, maybe we should have let those guys in to murder our animals. I think given its location, which is like on the route between the two halves of the fortress, we're going to have to take this thing on. So much though I fear it's going to just end in disaster, yes, I don't think we can do much else. Right, go for it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, that may be dangerous. Right, we have one possibly ill dwarf. One problem, of course, is it's going to take a while. For anyone to get here, and dizzy, nauseous, feverish as a result of that bite. Okay, the others are coming, albeit still lugging that sodding door. Yeah, this is not going well. Haha! Someone has turned up with an actual weapon. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. Right, that should deal with it. Also, they apparently give a decent amount of meat, so let us quickly set up a small, does it want to be a corpse stockpile? I think so, here. Or does it want to be a refuse stockpile? Maybe let's just create both, just in case. Oops, what, that ended up as an animal stockpile because I was not paying attention. Disable that, enable refuse, but only corpses and body parts. And then we'll build a butcher's shop down here in a bit. Demolish the butcher's shop up here. May as well demolish the mason's workshop as well. I'm being a bit optimistic here. The helmet snake is still alive. Oh no, it's not. Excellent. So we have one quite seriously ill dwarf mind. How heavy is the... So the snake corpse is not that heavy. There's not a lot of eating on that. So probably going to want a bit of a hospital down here. How about we quickly undesignate that as a bedroom and designate a tiny hospital. Would you like to be the doctor? I'm sure you would. Right, you're our doctor now. Have fun. Oh. Yes. Right. Now someone will at least recover our wounded dwarf. I think who are you? Sigun Fatizmal. Oh dear. Okay, our planter didn't last for... what? Our planter has gone missing? I presume that's because you dropped dead on a floor where no one can currently see you. Namely up here. No, not even inside the snake, merely on a Z level that we haven't looked at yet. Right, well, we're going to need, in that case, a coffin. Yeah, see, they've been found now. Happily, I think that was the only dwarf who was actually bitten. Yes, so we're not going to have anyone else dying of helmet snake poisoning. You've decided to pick up a lump of rock from somewhere completely other and bring it all the way down to the lower cavern. Well, that was very sensible of you. We have plenty of rock down here, you know. Just install some rough stockpiles down here. Start getting things we need fairly urgently moved down here. Okay, we don't actually need all the teeth. much further down to the lower caverns with your lump of granite, which you could totally have found. Well, you could have found some phyllite anyway, much nearer by. Yes, some people are bringing food down here so that we don't need Oh, the helmet snake has got a name. Was posthumously named after it had successfully killed Keril Vathsith, and the helmet snake is now known as Melbil Shetbeth. So that's nice. This, of course, means we need to assign someone else to the farming jobs. I'll probably do the job for now. Our mason has almost made it down here with the rock. They're going to suddenly discover they're thirsty, aren't they? Isn't she? Well, yes, I would quite like to get it buried, but we do need someone to actually make us a coffin first. And they're doing the higher priority job first. And now going off to eat, and apparently not going off to eat somewhere sensible. This, of course, means that the mason will now build the coffin by collecting some rock from the surface and hauling it all the way down again, doesn't it? Unless I do something about that. So let's do something stupid about that. Let's make a tiny stone stockpile here, which turns out to already be full of stone. And then have that stone stockpile give to that mason's workshop, which should then mean that that mason's workshop only consumes stone from that stockpile, which will stop our mason doing anything particularly stupid. Though it is a fairly long walk back. Okay, our visiting human bowman has turned up. Apparently not bothered like bringing a bow, and thus is beating up a coyote with a book. Successfully, I would point out. This is a book, a chromite-bound codex that has successfully been used to kill a coyote. Well, it is covered in coyote blood, at least. Yes. What happened to that construct rock coffin job? Fairly sure you're meant to be making a coffin, you know. And not the door. See, look. Rock coffin, it's at the top of the list. So still, at least you're using a sensible piece of rock, so that'll help. I mean, you're pretty good with your book. But I'm still a bit dubious about people, like, taking on the Drouth. There are no Drouthers left. Oh, sod it, you can stay. Except I accidentally hit deny. Oh, well. Bye-bye. Sorry, that was actually the wrong button. Yes, not very good at planting yet, this one, which is a pity because there's lots of other jobs I need them to do. But on the other hand, food is kind of important. Right, do we now have a coffin available? Yes, we do. Well, let's just... Do I try to dig out any more space for an like actual dedicated graveyard? kind of inclined to say we just stick the coffins outside. Don't think dwarves are in general horrified by seeing coffins. So you can just set them up in a secluded corner of the caverns. Oh, yes. Now, because no one's actually filling up the rock stockpile, gone and got the. We don't actually have the ability to build any new stuff just yet. But like, we can have some fun installing the doors. And now people can start burying our unfortunate dwarf. That's an ordinary cave spider, that's fine. Make ourselves some dining room furniture. And let us mark this entire area for now as a stockpile of almost everything. idea being that now we can haul all of the stuff from the upstairs stockpile down here. Well, we've at least got one tooth into that coffin. Someone has apparently decided that the caverns need cleaning, even though there's an enormous cloud of miasma from the rotting corpse of the person who has not yet been properly buried. Right, we've got some food out of it. Is there actually any meat there? Look, can't see any, but maybe it's ended up somewhere else already. Okay, we need a big food stockpile in the lower fortress. No. Stop people gathering upstairs. I want to install a chair and a table in what will be the dining room. I would like our woodcutter to come and cut down that tunnel tube so we have some wood to make some beds out of. Good night.
I'm not sure if he captures the screen.
This will happen faster if I unpause. So yes, people are now bringing stuff down. Everyone is now hauling stuff down from up here. This is going to take a while. Okay, I'm slightly worried by the presence of a troll there. Okay, they may not actually attack us. We'll see. Again, they're right in our way though, so... Okay, that troll appears to be reasonably peaceful. Yeah, that looks okay, good. I mean, once we've actually got all the rubbish down from upstairs, we won't have to go through the fort so much, but... One problem is that there is an awful lot of stuff to move. And it's quite a long walk. Problem with wheelbarrows is they're only really useful for hauling big things like rocks. other things, you end up putting one item in the wheelbarrow, which is really, really, really unhelpful. Someone needs to put that corpse in its coffin. Yeah, I'll just check the corpse is actually not forbidden. No, it's not. We just need someone to put it in the coffin. And all of this trouble will stop, but instead you're insisting on... doing useless things. Well, at least we can have a properly designated dining room. When someone gets around to it. Wondering if I start turning off item hauling selectively. Like you, I have jobs I want you to do that aren't hauling. Sadly, turning that off doesn't quite seem to have cancelled the current job. I need you to cut down some trees, and I need you to, and I also need someone to do some burial. We probably need some bins, but the problem is that bins you can make metal bins, I think. And that's not very helpful because we need wood in order to make charcoal, in order to make metal. So I hope now you will not haul anything else because you have all hauling apart from burial turned off. Yes. I'm quite happy for you to finish burying your friend. So I think that will be good. So meanwhile, what's going on down here? Not very much, to be honest. I do need you to fell the tree, but I actually think burying our dead dwarf is going to make people less unhappy. Quick check that there's no weird animals around. Lots of drow, that's fine. No, you're going to do it one tooth at a time, are you? See, and our swords dwarf turns up with 3 books. And no weapons. Like some... Oh, actually, no, was I wrong? No, breastplate, cloak, hood, coat, steel boots, gauntlets, helm, chain leggings, really quite well armoured, but their weapons consist of 3 books. And I think I may need to do something, need to adjust things again, because our woodworker while they are now working on burying their friend, they're burying their friend 1 tooth at a time. Now, I think this isn't much of a problem. There may not be many teeth left. Yeah, I think that will not be a complete problem, but it is going to take a little while. Oops, that wasn't the room that should have gone in. Oh well. Okay, we did get at least a reasonable number of the teeth down to the correct level. Are you going to fetch another tooth, or are you going to fetch a the actual main part of the corpse? It's a long trek. No, tooth it is. Now, all the teeth do go into the same coffin, at least. I was thinking I should probably have built the railway this early, but like that's a bit of a faff. I think the web was always near the farm plot, yes. Well, we survived the winter with only 1 death. So that's nice, and it wasn't a death through cold. Why has my Dwarf Fortress window gone blank? I'm going to assume that's because it's saving and has forgotten to update the screen. Yes, good. Right, now how about the rest of the corpse? No, you're going to fetch another tooth from the stockpile first. When they're storing items in bins, I think dwarves can actually pick up more than one item at a time. But I don't think that applies to items that need to be stored in coffins, even if they're tiny. Hence this activity of running back and forth fetching individual teeth, which at least someone had mostly stockpiled in the lower fort. Oh, go on. Let's see how badly wrong this goes. I mean, I don't know whether having someone attempt to bludgeon the helmet snake to death with a book would have helped, compared to, like, having someone there with an axe. Right, finally the correct corpse has been picked up. Not sure that should say that. Just wondering what our Monster Slayer is going to get up to now that they've been let in. Yes, true. The visiting Monster Slayer might indeed have at least been helpful, like cannon fodder, snake fodder. Oh, going back up again. Do you have any actual plans? Because if you don't, I'll follow someone else. It does rather look like you don't actually have anything to slay out here, so... One of our dogs is apparently getting into a fight with a coyote. Still, we're getting a reasonably large number of objects brought down here, plus I can now declare this to be the dining room and our main meeting hall, will mean that people tend to settle down here when they have nothing better to do. And our now rather thirsty woodcutter is hauling the dead planter down here. Right, there's a problem. Well, I think we have got a bit of a fortress, but no one's in it. I think the best we can do is hope that we can take this thing out as well. Which is like, I'm not very optimistic, but... Our monster slayer is not anywhere very nearby. Oh well. The remaining two of you, have a go. Well done. I think. You killed a giant cave spider with one punch. Or maybe two, I'm not sure. 2 punches. Mina punches the giant cave spider in the cephalothorax with her right hand, tearing the fat, and bruising the muscle, and bruising the brain. Dead. Like, I don't know if my expedition leader's going to survive. Being as they are paralysed and injected with... Well, having been paralysed, they did recover, didn't they? I can do this, really. Has fully overcome paralysis, maybe? Right, will you cut down a tree now? No, you found something else that needs burying. Oh right, you lost that skeleton halfway down here. Somehow. I should go to bed, but I'd also like to get us to the point where we have bedrooms, because my dwarves can't go to bed yet. You have got, like... Oh, you haven't got wood cutting enabled. Well, have wood cutting enabled. That might make things better. No, you're terribly confused now, aren't you? Is this because you're in the military? Yes. Temporarily leave that squad and see if that will be enough to allow you to engage in wood cutting. Yes. Right, then we'll get some wood. Right, there is some nice ludicrous pink wood. Lots of nice ludicrous pink wood, excellent. Which means we can now ask for some beds. You should also get all the healthcare tasks so that that gets done. And actually you should also become our chief medical dwarf. Because I think that will help a bit. Why are we not getting a job to butcher the remains of that giant cave spider? I'm sure you can butcher giant cave spiders. Well, I think you're now discovering why you should bring something sharp if you're going to try to eradicate monsters. See? What? Oh right, someone's trying to store the bed in a stockpile, are they? Also, it looks like we may need a rubbish dump somewhere outside. Just set up small garbage dump zone there, merely to get the garbage out of the fort for now. I have a little bit of why is this not... Right, we definitely allow the storage of all kinds of food in here. I kind of want to know why. Actually, let's forbid that bed and then unforbid it. Alright, it's already... Right, there we go. That will get us one more bed. As we patch up our unfortunate dwarf who got into the fight with the giant cave spider. The books being stored in our stockpile now. I wonder where they came from. Lots of dressings needed. If you get into a fight with the GCS, you're going to come out of it with holes in you. And apparently we don't yet have any crutches down here, so that's going to take a little while. But I evaluated and cleaned and knee and upper body sutured and dressings applied, and will at least temporarily need a crutch. Doesn't look like that's going to be permanent though, so that's good. Yeah. Yes. Bad injury to the lower leg, but that'll be fine. Left lower leg, but that will be fine. Would like to be a crafts dwarf, apparently. Well, that will probably be possible soon. have an available bed now. Good. Easily, whether anyone's actually going to build that bed is another matter. Once those are built, then there will be other things to do. I think we can now turn on all their hauling jobs again, because we're not like desperately prioritising beds. We now actually have some beds. They just need to be installed. Here they are being installed. Yeah, good idea to clean the blood out of the hospital. Yeah, we'll get rid of the rubbish in due course, I'm sure. I still don't quite understand why that's not all being stored, but... Right, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bedrooms and a hospital. We have 6 dwarves, and so we have the same number of dwarves as we have bedrooms. They're probably not very good bedrooms. They're all meagre quarters. And a modest dining room. And the dwarves are still desperately hauling the rubbish down from upstairs, but you can see it's getting gradually emptier up here. And it is currently mid-spring. Come summer, we should start on the on building a trade depot. And begin to turn this place into an actually functional fortress. But like, I was about to say no one's died. One person's died of being bitten by a helmet snake. We've dealt with 2 fairly scary creatures. The third one has taken out a visiting swords dwarf who didn't bother bringing a sword. People have places to sleep. We have a dining room which even has a table and a chair in it and some food. I don't quite understand what's going on with these stockpiles. That stockpile probably doesn't need to take anything now, does it? There are still a huge bunch of barrels up here. I think those are still waiting to be hauled downstairs, so we should leave that set up as it is. And I think it's now time for me to go and find my tunnel tube bed and go to sleep in it. So good night from what's this place called? Rhythm Gate, and we will see you later with trying to construct what thing? Yes, trying to construct ourselves a trade depot so that we can actually get some more wood, because there aren't that many trees down here. We've got basically 2 more trees that will give us a useful amount of wood. Possibly that tunnel tube in the water, but that might be a bit tricky. And of course, yes, we need to set ourselves up a proper water supply and all that kind of thing. But hopefully we can trade for a lot of wood and that will help us. So, yes, good night everyone.